Introduction. The slightest noise would bring slaughter. They're there. They will hunt any human who makes a sound. Only a hearing-impaired child knows how to blast them. Otherwise, every other person is one sound away from death. No one believes the child, but that child is determined to make the world safer for all. The creature will chase them whenever there is the slightest noise. And imagine a family with a newly born child, the child who does not know how his screams can bring death to the family. Imagine the Abbot family, with their father, Lee, gone evading the death from hideous blind beasts. A Quiet Place Part 2 is an effective and engrossing follow-up. Plot: Day 1. The movie opens on Day 1, with Lee driving to a local store and picking up some food. He heads to the local baseball ground, where Marcus is going to play in the match. While advancing to the stands, he sees Evelyn pushing Bo on the swings. Marcus is ready to bat, but a bit nervous. Bo approaches Marcus and hands him a stick of gum, which he chews immediately. Evelyn signs Marcus to breathe calmly, and also that she loves him. Marcus steps up to bat. While all this hustle is going on in ground and stands, an unidentifiable object suddenly blows up the sky. People start rushing in whatever direction they find. The tournament abruptly ends, and people shuffle home. Many people don't even find a chance after those monsters slam the town. Lee and Reagan hide themselves in a local store. On the other hand, Evelyn is frantically driving the car with her two sons. There is chaos. People are frightened and running here and there to save their lives, while beasts are wreaking havoc in the town. While rushing towards the truck, Lee sees Emmett and inquires whether something is going on at the base. Unsure of the situation, Emmett assures Lee if anything happens. Lee and Reagan cling to his truck, but Lee immediately exits after noticing a squad car. He asks a law officer what they're looking for. Unsure of what they're looking for, the law officer tells him they are yet to identify. The cop shots fire on advancing creatures, not knowing that sound is all they take to slaughter the humans, and the beast out of nowhere cuts him into pieces. Lee jumps back in the truck and pulls off. On the other side, Evelyn is stuck in the traffic and suddenly sees a creature pushing a bus against her car. Frightened, she puts her car in reverse and steers it away. Lee and Reagan notice Evelyn, Marcus, and Bo from the local store, but they take cover inside the store along with many other people. To their bad luck, a phone bell rings inside the store, and death hovers over them. Both Lee and Reagan ran as fast as they could. Out on the streets, cop shots fire at advancing creatures, and sounds from multiple shots fired distract the creature. Day 474. On day 474, Evelyn moves upstairs, along with the newborn baby, Marcus, and Reagan. She signs both Marcus and Reagan to stay outside, while she heads to retrieve the air tank from the burning barn. Reagan moves back to the basement and finds a large speaker. She finds it a tool to fend off the creatures by amplifying the high-pitched frequency that tears them apart. She also recovers a map from the basement, which shows the signs of the last human life on the Earth. Evelyn and the kids walk barefoot for miles on an abandoned rail track. While carefully heading towards their destination, they again have a close call. Evelyn trips a booby trap to her bad luck. Glass bottles attached with the trap fell and create noise. Noise means death. She runs along through the field. While running, Marcus steps into a bear trap and lands himself in unbearable pain and screams at the top of his lungs. Evelyn tries to stifle his screams, but in vain. And as it would have it, one of the creatures appears on the scene and advances towards them to kill them. The smart Reagan turns on the speaker and starts broadcasting the high-pitched frequency that fends off the beast. They make their way into a warehouse, where suddenly a man with a scarf around his face appears. He warns them of the presence of a beast inside the building. He leads them into a soundproof steel container and warns them that they can't stay there longer due to limited oxygen and food supplies. Evelyn insists the man reveal his face, and it turns out to be Emmett, their old neighbor. He gives beer to Evelyn to wash Marcus's wound. Reagan plugs the headphones into the radio, and she places the headphone on Marcus's ears. Suddenly, he starts hearing beyond the sea. Reagan takes it as a message from someone that they must travel across the sea. In the late night, Reagan awakens Marcus and leads him into the soundproof container. She reveals her plan to reach that community living beyond the sea. Marcus does not take her plan seriously and warns her not to execute it. Being sure of the existence of community beyond the sea and also that the sound is a signal from that community, Reagan embarks on a journey to explore those signs. Evelyn gets to know about Reagan's plan and escape from the container. She requests the remorseful Emmett to find her. Reagan, walking along the abandoned rail path, faces those creatures and repels them by emitting high-pitched frequency. Meanwhile, surging Reagan, Emmett also reaches there and asks Reagan to abandon her plans and go back with him. Reagan makes him feel less manly because of his suggestion. He finds himself challenged. Ultimately, he decides to go with Reagan in search of a community beyond the sea. Back in the warehouse, Evelyn sets out to ensure the oxygen supply, as the bunker they live in has a shortage of oxygen. As Evelyn exits the soundproof steel cabin, Marcus insists on going with her, but Evelyn pleads with him to stay inside and take care of the newly born baby. Marcus heads up to the surface, and while looking in the factory, he gets startled. There, he finds the dead body of Emmett's wife. Frightened, Marcus knocks over some equipment, and sound is produced that attracts the creatures. On their way, Reagan and Emmett reach Marina Bay, and before they find a boat to embark on, they come across a little girl. Curious about who that girl is, Emmett approaches that little girl. Suddenly, that little girl lifts her face and ties a noose around the neck of Emmett. And there appears a man with weird looks and looking at Reagan and Emmett with suspicious eyes. Back in the bunker, Marcus is in trouble as he has attracted creatures. He locks himself in the bunker. He finds it difficult to breathe and starts sharing the oxygen mask with the newly born baby. Meanwhile, Evelyn returns to the warehouse and hears. She finds a creature has made his way to the basement. She shoots fire to distract the creature, which works. Creature advances towards Evelyn, and she shoots fire at one of the tanks, which causes an explosion. And it seems fire from the explosion has burned the creature, but it is not the case. Evading the creature, Evelyn makes it into the basement and finds Marcus unconscious. On the marina, the rough-looking men, weirdly looking at Reagan, ripped her shirt off and took her. Emmett signs her to jump in the water, and as she jumps, Emmett attacks one of the men and stabs a dagger in his legs, and the man screams. Meanwhile, Emmett jumps in the water, and the creature, detecting screams, attacks the screaming man. Creatures wreak havoc on the marina, and one of the creatures get drowned in water, and others jump on the boat and do not find anything to attack. Reagan, in a boat, pulls Emmett from the water, and they reach the island on the boat. There, they meet an old man who tells them about the song. People here live happily and enjoy different activities. The old man further tells that they reached the island the same way. One day, they heard a hurricane siren, which later on turned into creature's attack. Knowing that the creature could not swim, National Guards loaded the people on boats, and only 2 boats managed to reach here. Emmett, after listening to the old man, finds Reagan and returns her implant, which he carefully managed to get while those weird men were taking Reagan away. Emmett tells her that the old man is ready to help them. Later in the day, while looking on the beach, Emmett hears a loud crashing sound and sees a creature on the boat, and the boat is advancing towards the beach. He rushes back and warns the community. He, the old man, and Reagan get in the car. However, the creature manages to get on top of the vehicle and kills the old man. But Reagan and Emmett escape and reach the radio station. The creature is still around the bunker and tries to get inside and even scratches Evelyn's leg with its claw. The life of Evelyn, Marcus, and the baby is in danger. On the island, Reagan finds the main office of the radio station where all the equipment is located. While opening the door, Reagan has attracted the creature due to the noise when she closes the door. Meanwhile, Reagan turns on the broadcast signal and matches it with her hearing aid. The high-pitched frequency kills the creature at the radio station. At the bunker, Evelyn and Marcus also struggle with the creature. Marcus plugs out the headphone from the radio and directs the radio sound at the creature, which ultimately kills it. This is how a hearing-impaired child has saved herself and her family after discovering the island from the signals which they once heard from the radio in the bunker. Critical analysis. There can be multiple lessons drawn from the movie. Every human possesses the unique talent and potential. Reagan, a hearing-impaired child, saves the whole community due to her unique talent to understand how technology works and how her implant can do wonders. Secondly, the loss of loved ones sometimes makes the families and individuals resilient. Despite the loss of Lee and Bo, the Abbot family stood firmly against the ordeal and ultimately won the life out of death. It shows life is the most precious thing. Another important lesson we can draw is if there is a will, there is a way. When one believes in oneself and determines to do something, even the opponents join you, like Emmett joined Reagan, on the way to discover the human life beyond the sea. A Quiet Place Part 2 is a great sequel of Part 1, with a quest narrative that keeps the audience engaged throughout.